Okay, welcome to PMQs with Graham Hughes. We're going to head over to the House of Parliament in a moment. It's still Scottish questions. There is an angry man shouting and that you can't hear him. But that's what's happening at the moment. As soon as Lindsay Hoyle announces the start of PMQs, we'll head over there. In the meantime, big shout out to Blah Blah CW and Diz and Gillian Hope in the chat. We've also got Bowles in the chat. So listen, if anyone wants to join the chat and comment as we get through Prime Minister's questions together, group session, here we go.
This weekend, the Rugby League Ashes returns for the first time since 2003. I'd like to place on record my very best wishes to the England team.
Didn't we win it in 2003?
The major rumble in London this weekend. It's the first of 3 matches against Australia. We now come to Ross Savage.
Okay. I like the rugby.
Prime Minister.
I like the tennis. I like the cricket.
Mr. Speaker. On Sunday, we unveiled Labour's plan to recruit hundreds of thousands of workers into clean energy, creating quality, well-paid jobs in every quarter of the United Kingdom.
Hi, MH Carer.
Monday,
Hi, everyone.
We announced the new V-level qualification to make sure every young person
I like the idea
has
of the
skills to
V-levels.
realise their potential.
I like that.
On Tuesday, our first ever regional investment summit in Birmingham secured £10 billion in investment, and today we're announcing tough new penalties to end the scandal of pollution in our rivers and seas. Mr. Speaker, that's national renewal with a Labour government. Mr. Speaker, yesterday I met Claire Throssell, who is here with us in the gallery today. Her 2 young sons, Paul and Jack, were murdered 11 years ago this week by her abusive ex-husband after a family court ordered he should have unsupervised contact with them. Claire's bravery and her campaign is humbling. And today, I'm pleased we can announce that we will repeal the presumption of parental involvement, putting children's safety first.
Good. Finally. What a ridiculous presumption that was.
This morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others, Mr. Speaker, in addition to my duties in this
Why
House.
are Labour leaders also nasal? I don't know, Diz. I don't know. They just are.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I would like to associate myself with the Prime Minister's sympathies extended towards Claire and commend her on her bravery. Mr. Speaker, I regret to inform the House that yesterday there was a very, very serious breach of national security when my PMQ was photographed heading into number 10 through a transparent folder. However, the nation can rest easy. On this occasion, no state secrets were revealed. However, it does make me wonder whether this government can be trusted with a digital ID scheme that is mandatory in all but name. Can the Prime Minister... I like to keep the Prime Minister on his toes. Will the Prime Minister reverse this misguided scheme, or will he persist with a plan that makes all of our personal data vulnerable to hacks and attacks?
Prime Minister.
Well, I thank you for our question. The whole point of digital ID, of course, is that you can't see it. So that should at least deal with the first of her concerns. Look, it is important that we make access to services, public services, as easy as possible for people. And we all know the difficulties that so many people have accessing services, and digital ID has been shown in other countries to help. I do think this is an important step forward. I also think that it's very important as part of our plan to tackle those who are entering our country illegally.
Jane Kirkham.
All 10 of them.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Households in Cornwall in temporary accommodation have increased by 265% in 5 years. So I'm delighted that this Labour government is investing £39 billion into social and affordable housing. In Cornwall, we're developing a strategy to provide housing at sites like Pydar in my constituency, which need support from Homes England. will the Prime Minister arrange for us to meet the Housing Minister at our Homes Cornwall launch next month to accelerate discussions on a strategic partnership for Cornwall so we can build the right homes in the right places for local people?
Okay, before we get a response on that, let's just have a think there. 39 billion on affordable community and social housing. 39 billion pounds. And if that number rings a bell in your grey matter, it's because that's the amount we have to pay out to Europe to pull out of Europe, to pull out the EU.
Well, I know the Housing Minister would be delighted to meet my honourable friend to help unlock new homes for her constituents. We are working closely with local authorities through our small sites aggregator to build new affordable homes on brownfield sites. My goal, Mr. Speaker, is to restore the dream of home and ownership, which was stolen by the government, by the opposition when they were in government. Thank you.
Leader of the opposition, Kemi Bin.
All right, here we go. If she can't land the punch this
Mr.
week,
Speaker,
she never
first,
can.
First of all, can I pay tribute to the former Conservative MP Oliver Colville, who has very sadly passed away after a long illness. Colleagues will remember him for his love of cricket and, of course, hedgehogs. He will be very much missed.
I'm playing cricket with hedgehogs.
Mr. Speaker, 4 victims on the Rape Gang Survivors panel have resigned. And they've resigned because they've lost all confidence in the government's inquiry. So I'm giving my first question to one of them, to Fiona. She said, being dismissed and contradicted by a minister when you're telling the truth takes you right back to that feeling of not being believed all over again. Fiona's question is simple. What's the point in speaking up if we're just going to be called liars?
Prime Minister.
Good question.
Can I thank her for raising that on behalf of Fiona, and let me give Fiona and the House my answer, Mr. Speaker, because the grooming scandal was one of the worst scandals of our time. Women and girls were abused and exploited by predatory gangs of men, and survivors have been ignored for many years, including by the state that, of course, is supposed to protect them. My vow to Fiona and them is that this national inquiry will change that. I do acknowledge that in recent days some members, including Fiona, have decided to step away from the panel. I say this, Mr. Speaker, should they wish to return, the door will always be open. But even if they do not, we owe it to them and to Fiona and to the country to answer the concerns that they have raised.
Yes.
The inquiry is not and will never
Why
be
are your
watered
ministers saying that didn't
Its
happen?
scope will not change. It will examine the ethnicity and religion of the offenders, and we will find the right person to chair the inquiry. I can tell the House today, Mr. Speaker, that Dame Louise Casey will now support the work of the inquiry, and it will get to the truth. Injustice
Louise
will
Casey
have no
is
place
who
to
caused
hide.
this to happen in the first place.
Mr. Speaker, I doubt she'll be
that was
satisfied
commissioned.
with that answer. He says that they could return to the panel if they wish to. Why would they do that? The government has been engaged in a briefing war against survivors. Elizabeth. Oh, really? They say shame. Why don't they listen to what Elizabeth had to say? Why don't they listen to what Elizabeth had to say? Elizabeth, who was abused in Rotherham from the age of 14, had this to say, and I quote, "The government has created a toxic environment for survivors." They were looking for answers from the Prime Minister, and what they've heard is Labour MPs saying shame at their words. Yesterday, Mr. Speaker, the Safeguarding Minister said Elizabeth was wrong. Who should we believe? The Prime Minister's Safeguarding Minister or Elizabeth?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, let me put on record my respect for all of the survivors who've been through the most awful ordeals. And I want to thank those that have been involved so far for the work in the process. What we're trying to do is to get this right and have an inquiry with survivors at the heart. As the Safeguarding Minister told the House yesterday, that's obviously not easy. They've all come with difficult experiences. There are a wide range of views, understandably, and every survivor does bring their own painful experience to this. The survivors met the prospective chairs this week, and we want to have them to have the chance to engage. I want survivors to be at the heart of this. I want an inquiry that can get to the truth. These are the hard yards, I accept that, but I want to press on and get this right.
Mr. Speaker, he says that he wants survivors to be at the heart of this, but in his first PMQs this year, he said we did not need a national inquiry.
No,
and when he did, all of his MPs cheered. They were nodding their heads, including the...
That's not quite what happened, okay, just for the record. At the beginning of this year, the Labour government commissioned Baroness Casey to look into it to see if we needed a national inquiry, another one, to replace the one that the Tories did. Because the Tories already carried out a national inquiry into grooming gangs, and they got all of the information about, you know, what had gone on, and it just went straight in a drawer, and they never acted on any of the proposals that were put forward. And Baroness Casey came back with a report and said, yes, we should have a national inquiry. Then the government did, you know, to give them some credit, they did then say, yes, we're going to have a national inquiry.
Safeguarding Minister. They voted against the national inquiry 3 times. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. They voted against the national inquiry. They voted against the national inquiry 3 times, so the victims don't believe them. They can say no as much as they like. It is on the record. They don't like it, but it's true. Now, one of the victims has quit. Contrary to what the Prime Minister's just said and what the Home Secretary wrote this morning, they believe that the inquiry will downplay the racial and religious motivations behind their abuse. Aren't the victims right when they call it a cover-up?
Prime Minister.
Well, let me reassure the victims and the House that the scope of the inquiry will not be diluted, and we won't shy away from cultural or religious issues. And Mr. Speaker, it was me that commissioned Baroness Casey in the first place, who gave me her recommendation in relation to a national inquiry, and we have, in the 4 months since then, finalised the panel and trying to get the leadership of this inquiry right, with survivors at the heart. Mr. Speaker, in that period, we have also reopened 1,200 historic closed cases. I have long argued, Mr. Speaker, that the criminal route where it can be pursued is the right route for perpetrators. We've introduced mandatory reporting of child sex abuse. I happen to think that is a vital safeguard. I've been campaigning for that for over a decade. I asked the last government to introduce it, and that fell on deaf ears. And that mandatory reporting of child sex abuse is something each and every one of them voted against earlier this year. And we've given victims and survivors the power to seek an independent review of their cases. But, Mr. Speaker, in relation to this inquiry, I want to go as fast as we can to get the justice that is deserved. I want to ensure survivors are involved in that, and we're balancing the two to get this right, and I'll continue to do so.
Mr. Speaker, he's talking about mandatory reporting. I will remind him what Fiona asked. What is the point if the victims aren't going to be believed? What would be the point of mandatory reporting? All of this is happening now. All he's saying is because 4 of those victims resigned from the survivors panel. If they hadn't done that, they would have continued with the watering down, which we all know that they were carrying out. So yes, the victims are right to be worried. He also talked about looking for a chair. It has been 10 months since we first called for a national inquiry. 10 months. It is shocking that they still do not have a chair. One of the final 2 candidates, Mr. Speaker, has pulled out.
The people involved in the inquiry, the inquiry was set up 4 months ago, not 10 months ago. Come on.
A former police officer that the victims don't want. What they do want is a judge. They deserve a judge. So, Mr. Speaker, we are talking now. We are talking about the industrial scale rape of women and girls. Unlike most of the inquiries going on, why is it that this inquiry doesn't deserve a judge?
Prime Minister.
Can I answer that? It's a serious point, Mr. Speaker, because whether it should be judge-led was looked at by Louise Casey, and she decided against that for a reason, and her reasons were twofold. I'll spell them out. The first was the speed with which we could do this, and it would have been... They asked the question, and the first was the speed with which we could do this. The second is really important, and that is that at the same time as the inquiry, I was absolutely determined that criminal investigations would go on at the same time. One of the problems that judge-led inquiries run into, I've seen and experienced this myself, is that they're often held back until the end of the criminal investigations. And I was determined that we'd be able to run the two together. And it's because of that, Mr. Speaker, that we've been able to reopen 1,200 historic cases at the same time. And Mr. Speaker, she asks, what's the point of mandatory reporting that she voted against? I don't think she understands how it works. This, Mr. Speaker, is mandatory reporting of those that have had allegations made to them, and there's clear enough evidence they've then not passed that on. That is a fundamental problem in the system. That is why we've changed the law. They should hang their heads in shame for having voted against that vital protection.
Okay, so I'm going to give it to both of them here. That was a good question. Why isn't the judge leading the panel? And we got an actual answer. He did explain why a judge isn't going to lead the panel.
What he should hang his head in shame in is calling this a far-right bandwagon when we first raised this issue. The deputy leader, the future deputy leader, we all know who's going to win, called this a dog whistle. What we need to...
Hang on. I guarantee, right, I absolutely guarantee that at this point, you know, she's saying, you know, you didn't do this, and you said this, and you did that. He's going to stand up now and say, you already had an inquiry and you didn't do anything about it.
Think about right now, Mr. Speaker, is the victims. It is the survivors. I spoke to one of them yesterday. Let's remember, these are victims who waived their anonymity, an incredibly difficult thing to do. And they believe that the safeguarding minister has lied to them and about them. One of the survivors has said, and I quote, Jess Phillips needs to be removed because I don't think her conduct during this has been acceptable for the position that she holds. That is, those aren't my words. Those are the words of a survivor. It is a shame that Labour MPs are drowning that out. The member for Birmingham Yardley has clearly lost the confidence of the victims. Does she still have the confidence of the Prime Minister?
That's interesting. Now, she used the name Jess Phillips. She's not supposed to do that in Parliament, but she might have got away with it because she was quoting from somebody else. But maybe we might see something from the Speaker saying you're not allowed to say people's actual names in Parliament. She should have said the MP for Birmingham Yardley.
Can I just say that, Prime Minister, even if we are quoting somebody else, we shouldn't quote it because it's a direct allegation against a member of this House. So I'm sure that that's not what was intended, Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I respect the views of all the survivors, and there are different views. I accept that. But the safeguarding minister, I think, has probably more experience than any other person in this House in dealing with violence against women and girls. Alongside her will be Louise Casey. These two individuals, Mr. Speaker, have spent decades standing up for those who have been abused and sexually exploited. And I absolutely think they're the right people to take this forward.
Mr. Speaker, she doesn't have more experience than the survivors. The fact is, just a few weeks ago, he was standing there telling us he had full confidence in the best friend of a convicted paedophile. So it is no surprise that people have no confidence in what he is saying. The victims have said that she should be sacked.
Trump.
We on this side of the House believe that she should be sacked because this is about Labour failure. Labour never wanted this inquiry. We demanded it. It has been Labour-run councils, Trafford, Bradford, Blackpool, that try to suppress the truth. It is Labour ministers attacking the victims. We're standing up for them. And how is it, Mr. Speaker, how is it that whether it is rape or Chinese espionage, when he's in a position to do something about it, it's always someone else's fault?
Now, that's a good way to set this up, because now when he blames them for having an inquiry and not doing anything about it, it looks like he's blaming somebody else. But in this case, like, they did have an inquiry. They spent millions of pounds of taxpayers' money on an inquiry that literally did nothing. They may as well have just thrown it in the bin as soon as it was complete because the Tories acted on absolutely none of the recommendations done by the previous inquiry, which is why we need another inquiry now. If they'd done it properly in the first place, they had acted on the recommendations, we wouldn't need this inquiry.
Are listening to and standing up for the survivors. That's why we're doing the work on the inquiry. That's why we've reopened the criminal cases, why we brought in mandatory reporting. But I would gently remind them they had 14 years in office. They barely mentioned this issue. And where there were inquiries, they failed to act on them. We have done more in the time we've been in office than they did in 14 long years.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mental ill health affects 1 in 4 of us. It costs this country up to £300 billion a year. So will the Prime Minister join me in thanking the staff at McGill Health Park who do a brilliant job in looking after those suffering from mental ill health? And will he wish them well with their plans to set up a world-leading research and innovation centre which will make an enormous contribution towards this government's stated aim of giving mental and physical health care equal priority?
Prime Minister.
Well, of course I join in thanking the staff at McGill Health Park. Mr. Speaker, we are investing £15.6 billion to bring down mental health waiting lists, vital in continuing to drive down inactivity and helping people to get the care that they need. In the upcoming multi-year capital budgets, we will enable NHS Trust to accelerate decisions on local priorities, and that could include the Mental Health Digital Research Centre that he champions.
Leader of the Liberal Democrats, Sir Ed Davey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I agree with the Prime Minister about the words he said about Claire Frossell? And agree with him that it's right that we change the law, and I hope it's named after her sons, Jack and Paul. Mr. Speaker, given the revelations about Royal Lodge, does the Prime Minister agree that this House needs to properly scrutinise the Crown Estate to ensure taxpayers' interests are protected?
Yes.
The Chancellor herself has said that the current arrangements are wrong. So will the Prime Minister support a select committee inquiry so all those involved can be called for evidence, including the current occupant?
Oh, yes.
Prime Minister.
It's important in relation to all
Crown
properties, that there is proper scrutiny. I certainly support that.
Oh, okay, cool. Let's do it.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I hope the House can look at this properly and all people can be summoned to the relevant committee. But turning to the economy now, Mr. Speaker, I know members opposite are relieved. They are finally allowed to say the Conservatives' Brexit deal is a disaster.
Yay!
But, Mr. Speaker, that can't just be a political ruse to attack the honourable member for Clacton, however much he deserves it. Or even worse, Mr. Speaker, or even worse, Mr. Speaker, given we still have the highest inflation in the G7, it mustn't be a smokescreen to raise taxes on ordinary people. Mr. Speaker, it must be a call to action. Yeah. So will the Prime Minister act now to repair the Brexit damage by negotiating a new UK-EU customs union to boost Britain's trade and grow our economy?
Yes! Yes, please, yes!
No, I don't think that's the way forward.
Oh, fuck off, Keir!
Have a much closer relationship with the EU, recognising the damage done by the flawed Brexit deal that the party opposite negotiated. We've also struck deals with India and with the US, record investment into this country, and the fastest growing economy in the G7 in the first half of this year.
Yeah, not the second half.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
So that's a no then.
This summer, I visited every road across the Bexleyheath and Crayford constituency to reporting potholes to ensure the £895,000 given by this Labour government to the Conservative Control Council in the London Borough of Bexley is spent. However, the Conservative Cabinet member responsible for roads on the council wrote to our local newspaper asking that I stop reporting potholes because it was causing work for the council. Will the Prime Minister join with me in urging my Conservative council to get on and spend that money to make roads like May Place Road East safe to drive on?
So this is a local Conservative council telling him not to point out potholes in case they have to fill them. That's outrageous. Just like the record of the last 14 years. Mr. Speaker,
He said it again.
Dramatic, dangerous and costly potholes are to drivers. That's why we've delivered record investment to maintain our roads and fix potholes. That's £1.6 billion, Mr. Speaker. That money's been given to councils, but it comes with strings. So my message to reinforce this is clear to the council. Use the money, fix the roads, show how you're carrying out repairs, or lose the money because it's councils who get on with the job of fixing our roads. And I'll make sure the Road Minister follows up with him.
Ellie Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Given that the TUC has calculated that the wealthiest 10% of households in the UK hold more wealth than everyone else in the country put together,
Wow.
does the Prime Minister agree with me that it is inequality, not immigration, that is a threat to our country?
Yes, absolutely.
Well,
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we need to deal both with the levels of immigration and with inequality, and that's what this government is doing. And as we get on with trying to boost our economy, can I
let's have more immigrants, less
immigration? If we want more equality, if we want our economy to be stronger, their party needs to start voting for some of the measures that will make it necessary.
No, they don't. You've got a fucking massive majority. You don't need their votes.
In March 2022, I gave birth to my son by emergency C-section. Both my son and my life put at risk by a failing maternity service. In Nottinghamshire, we know failing maternity services far too well, with harm caused to mothers, babies and fathers. Over 2,400 families involved in the Donna Ockington inquiry. So does the Prime Minister agree with me that grief must be the engine of change, and where previous governments has failed, it is imperative that this government transforms maternity services so that every birth is an informed birth and every birth is a safe birth?
Yes, Sufa. More immigrants, less millionaires.
Can I extend my gratitude to my honourable friend and for all of those who spoke for their powerful and moving stories in the baby loss debate, I think, on Monday, Mr. Speaker. And I can assure her, I was actually at the Pride of Britain Awards on Monday night, and very many people came forward to me having heard some of the speeches from this House, particularly the personal testimonies. And so those stories really did have power in making the argument. We do need to fix what needs fixing, so we'll fix the maternity services, improve safety and make sure every mother is heard and gets high quality care, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, my constituents have so many questions they'd like to ask the Prime Minister, but I'll settle for one today. Can the Prime Minister define when grey belt is really grey?
Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, let me give a simple example.
Wendy!
We had an example of green belt, which was in fact a car park where building didn't take place, a non-green belt, which was an open playing field where building did take place. That doesn't make sense to me, and that's why we've got the policy we have.
Thank you, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I mean, that was a question coming from a Tory. You would have expected it to be, you know, like not setting Keir Starmer up to like brag about shit, but he ended up bragging about shit. So, thank you, I guess.
2-year-old Millie Blair from Oundle, who joins us today in the gallery along with her mum Gemma, her sister Jessica and her dad Gordon. On Millie's 11th birthday, she was diagnosed with a rare bone cancer, which led to her leg being amputated. Millie attends Prince William School but cannot access the lower playing field because the slope is too steep. Her parents, the school and I have asked East Midlands Academy Trust to put in a ramp. They've refused, claiming they are not subject to certain parts of the Equalities Act. Would the Prime Minister agree with me that the Trust has an absolute moral obligation to make these adjustments so that Millie can have full access to all of the school so she can play and thrive with all of her friends?
Prime Minister.
Can I just welcome Millie to the gallery? She's looking down, as I appreciate the members opposite can't see her, but she's smiling down with the courage and positivity that I know is everything to her, and we absolutely salute that, and we're humbled by it. In relation to the decision, Mr. Speaker, I really do find it hard to understand how a school trust could make a decision like that in relation to the ramp. And rather than, as it were, berate them from here, I would just implore them on behalf of, I think, everybody here, and Millie in particular, to just look again and please, I hope with the endorsement of the whole House, to reconsider that decision, put that ramp in, and match the positivity and the courage that Millie has shown all of us. And I thank the honourable friend for raising this campaign.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Times has reported that local elections across the country will be delayed for a second year in a row. The leader of my local authority, Surrey County Council, has had to go on record to say that he hasn't called for elections to be cancelled, but other Conservatives clearly have. Mr. Speaker, can the Prime Minister give me a cast-iron guarantee that my constituents in Woking and others across the country will not lose their democratic right to vote?
Prime Minister. Well, I thank him for his question, and he knows we inherited a situation where local councils were underfunded and millions were wasted on duplication. By reforming the system, which is what we're doing, we will save money and reinvest it in improved public services. In Surrey, just in response to his question, we expect the elections to be in the new unitary councils, and we'll be setting out the planned timetable very shortly.
Alan Strickland.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Central to growing our economy is delivering major events that drive footfall and investment. So does the Prime Minister share my disappointment that since reform took over the running of Durham County Council, they've slashed funding for Durham Pride, which brings in 20,000 people.
And Lumiere.
So they can't cope with accountability, Mr. Speaker. They have cancelled the Lumiere Festival, which has brought nearly 1.5 million people into County Durham since it started, undermining businesses, undermining the communities. Would the Prime Minister agree that if Reform can't run one county council, they certainly can't run Scotland, Wales, or our United Kingdom?
Yeah, it's absolutely right to point out, as voters in Durham can see, what you get if you vote Reform is total chaos and broken promises. Mr. Speaker, councils have a vital role in our communities, and it's not just
sometimes
Durham where Reform are doing.
He just is.
4 councillors in Kent have
Not
just
often.
been suspended for bringing the party into disrepute.
Sorry, I didn't mean to clown him.
Bring the party into disrepute is quite something for a party whose Welsh leader accepts Russian bribes to spread Putin's propaganda.
Sir Ashley Fox.
I have my clown
Mr.
picture
Speaker,
set up in case.
Western Hospice Care provides
I have my clown picture set up just in case there was a refuck that it went to, a refuck fucker, but then there wasn't. Maybe there's none of them in the house. Maybe they were on holiday. I mean, Richard Tice, he's in Dubai, isn't he? And, you know, what's his name? Farage, he's got better things to do than his job.
Invaluable service for my constituents with a terminal illness. The hospice now faces an increased bill for national insurance charges of £139,000 a year as a result of the Chancellor's jobs tax. Now, the Prime Minister will know that the money he's announced for capital expenditure can't be used for day-to-day running expenses. He will know that the money he's announced for children's hospices won't benefit Western Hospice Care. So what help can he offer Western Hospice Care as they struggle under the tax burden imposed by his government?
The camera op chose not to go to him.
The support that we can for hospices.
I thought it was going to, that's why I set
the
up
money that we've put aside at the budget for the NHS is absolutely crucial in relation to that. The NHS was underfunded for 14 long years. We've now put the funding in to allow the NHS to do the work.
Did you mention 14 years ago? Yeah, they love doing this one, don't they?
December will mark the 10th anniversary of the Storm Desmond floods that devastated my Carlisle constituency and forced thousands of people from their homes. Despite promising us new flood defences, previous Conservative governments left them unfinished. With climate-related rainfalls forecast to increase in the North West over the next decade, does the Prime Minister agree with me that the climate change sceptic policies peddled by some of the parties opposite are both reckless and dangerous? And will he assure the people of Carlisle that this Labour government will defend our great border city?
Prime Minister. Well, Mr. Speaker, she's absolutely right that the Tories left our flood defences in their worst state on record. And we, of course, are building them up again, investing over £10 billion to protect homes and businesses. And we've delivered over 150 flood schemes in our first year. And I want to see this progress even more rapidly. My honourable friend is a superb champion on this issue. We provided £300,000 to complete the feasibility study for stronger defences in her constituency.
Chairman Hall.
Mr. Speaker, as last week's urgent question highlighted, Hughes, the pharmacy non-provider, is effectively de facto bankrupt and possibly even insolvent too. Last week we discussed at great length the impact that is having on patients securing their prescriptions. It is now becoming increasingly evident that staff, whilst being told by HMRC is being told by Hughes they're being paid, are not. Lana Gulston and Blake Horwood in my constituency haven't been paid since the 18th of July. They are resorting to the kindness of friends and the support of food banks to make ends meet. The Minister, the member for Aberfan and my steg, is doing fantastic work to try to drive forward modernisation of the regulations. But this is now impacting the work of the Department of Business and Trade, HMRC and DWP. Could I urge the Prime Minister to convene those three departments alongside the DOHSC to secure a better deal and a fair deal for patients, but also for those who are currently employed and trapped in employment, not released by being made redundant, but are not being paid?
Minister. Well, can I thank him for raising this really serious issue, as he's done on a number of occasions, because it affects constituents of his, but also across the country. And it's simply unacceptable that customers and staff have been so badly let down. I know he will be meeting the relevant minister, but just let me update him here and now in a couple of respects, because officials are currently reviewing whether the Integrated Care Boards and the General Pharmaceutical Council need additional powers to address pharmacy businesses that do not play by the rules. And I think that's exactly the point he raises. That could include powers for the councils to go after business owners in addition to the pharmacy professionals. There'll be more detail when he has his meeting, but I thought it helpful to give those two indications.
Thank
you, Mr. Speaker. Well over 1,000 youth clubs have closed in this country since 2010, with a huge negative impact on our young people. This is despite the fact that youth clubs have had a long positive history in this country for helping young people to mature in a healthy fashion. In particular, FAB clubs help disabled and non-disabled people to build friendships in an inclusive environment. The FAB charity are here in Parliament later today to gain support for their work. So can I ask the Prime Minister to commend the work that they do, and can I also ask him to consider how best to support the youth club movement to help the next generation of young people grow into well-adjusted adults?
Well, can I thank my...
Before we talk about youth clubs, One Angry Pagan, yes, I absolutely agree with you, mate. Thank you very much for the super chat and some actually decent questions today. Even Simon Hoare, you know, proving that some Tories actually give a shit. I mean, you could never imagine Boris Johnson asking a question like that, could you? You know, what about these people who've been screwed over? He'd be the person doing the fucking screwing, wouldn't he?
Friend for his question. He's a credit to his community. I know firsthand he's done so much hard work to help heal, to rebuild, and to look to a brighter future for Southport. Can I welcome Fab Charity to Parliament? They do fantastic work, Mr. Speaker, to help break down barriers. And I'm proud that Labour is backing our youth clubs with £30 million of grant funding, doubling the numbers of youth hubs and providing a youth guarantee with earning or learning guaranteed for our young people. Our national youth strategy will be set out in the autumn.
Rebecca Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last week, I invited the Prime Minister to match the Conservative pledge to scrap business rates for our high streets. However, he declined. Instead, he pointed me towards the small business strategy. Since then, businesses have been in touch to tell me that this strategy will make little or no difference to their future. With 14,000 high street businesses expected to close this year alone, and with retail businesses in my constituency facing a doubling of their business rates, when will this Labour government deliver on its commitment to reduce business rates, given that they are unprepared to accept our policy of scrapping them altogether?
Mr. Speaker, our small business plan was drawn up with small businesses. I sent her a copy online. I hope she shared that with the 3,000 small businesses in her constituency. They show what we're doing. Well, we're reflecting what they asked us to do before they shout rubbish. This is what they asked us to do. £1 billion of additional lending to small businesses, £3 billion extra for small businesses to scale up, dealing with late payments with the biggest reform for 25 years.
Alex Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As Britain faced peril in World War II, Winston Churchill took a radical step. He changed the clocks to shift extra daylight into the evenings. As the clocks go back this weekend, would the Prime Minister take a look at the evidence on trialling Churchill time again to cut carbon, reduce bills, improve road safety, boost the hospitality industry, and be the Prime Minister who will brighten up all of our lives?
Hey, BST all the time. British summertime all the time.
The relevant material.
Oh, come on, do it.
Many in Glastonbury and Somerton are forced to travel hundreds of miles to see an NHS dentist, or suffer in agony, or fall into debt to pay for private treatment, or turn to DIY dentistry, like Jennifer, who extracted 2 of her teeth over the weekend. They simply can't wait for the consultation on the broken NHS contract. Mr. Speaker, they deserve immediate action. So will the Prime Minister outline what measures he's taking to end the dental desert in Somerset for good?
Someone's just put, this is just click approve. Who was it? Sam C saying, wouldn't be PMQs without some Churchill worship. Yeah, I get that, but also I get why she did that. I get why she said that. It's basically, call it Churchill time and you got all the gams on board. Simple as that.
Thank you for raising this, because added to the list of shocking things the last government left was the shocking state of NHS dentistry, broken like everything else under the last government. In relation to her question, we are rolling out extra urgent care appointments. In Somerset, Integrated Care Board is expected to deliver over 13,000 extra dental appointments this year, and I'll give her more details in due course. We're also reforming the dental contract, which will shift focus onto retaining NHS dentists.
Final question now, please, Tuttle.
The problem isn't that there's not enough dentists, it's just there's not enough NHS slots. And people are waiting for months in agony, in actual agony. Like, I don't mind waiting for a checkup, but if I was in a lot of pain, like, how much would you pay to make the pain go away? The dentists know this, and if they can be, do it as a private consultation, then they'll do it private because they make more money that way.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ahmed Al-Ibrahim was only 16 years old when he was fatally stabbed in Huddersfield. His life was cruelly taken away in what the police described as an unprovoked and motiveless attack. On a visit to Netherhall Learning Campus in my constituency last week, I know how important this issue is for young people. So will the Prime Minister commit to redoubling efforts to tackle serious violence and knife crime through more visible policing, stronger prevention and investment in youth services?
Prime Minister.
Can I thank her for raising this devastating case, and my thoughts, I'm sure those of the whole House, are with the family and friends. Through our crime and policing bill, we're increasing penalties for the illegal sale of knives and giving police new powers to seize knives likely to be used for violence or cause harm. We've also launched a coalition to tackle knife crime, to bring together campaigners and community leaders to tackle the root causes of knife crime and help protect the next generation.
Front benches change over.
Oh, okay. Normally he says, so ends the question time. Thus ends question time, but he didn't know. He just went, front bench change over. Right, everyone, out you go. Off you jolly well fuck. Bye. So we're over to One Angry Pagan, who has just dropped £10 in the Superchat fund. That's very kind of you, my friend. Youth clubs really helped me as a kid /teen. Unfortunately, at the same time I left school, the Tories took over. The helping to work schemes were phased out. This had real effects on my psyche. Yeah, I'm not surprised, Well Angry Pig. I'm sorry that happened to you. And the Tories are responsible for so much fucking shit that has happened. And you know, I sort of I made a bit of a joke every time they say, 14 years, 14 years. But that is the reality. You know, we have 14 years of the Tories. And it's a bit rich of them now saying, why are you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? When they had 14 years to do all that shit, but they didn't. They were too obsessed with austerity, Brexit, and then COVID house parties, and then there's just as disastrous mini budget, and calling a general election in the vein. £5 super chat. Thank you from Miss Paula Thomas. Thank you. We tried Perma BST when I was at school result. I walked to school in the dark and back home in the dark. No thanks, says Miss Paula Thomas. Well, I mean, there will be more kids getting out in the dark when we go to GMT, especially in December and January. It's getting dark at like 3 in the afternoon. So you've got like little kids who go to little school coming out in the dark. So no, I'd much rather have BST all through the year and slightly darker mornings, but then you get the hour at the other end, don't you? And you know what? We live at what, 63 degrees fucking latitudes or something mad. Where do we live up here? What's the latitude of Britain? It's probably in the 40s, isn't it? Let's have a look. Latitude of Britain. There you go. 53. God, somewhere in the middle. 53. 55. So Wales is 52. Germany's 51. Anyway, we live in high latitude region. So in the winters it's going to get pretty dark. But I hate it when the hour goes back in October. I always think of like I mean, for me, right, I'm not really a morning person. I don't need it to be light at 7 o'clock necessarily. But yeah, anyway, but thanks for the money anyway. But I personally would like it to be BST all year round. Those NHS dentist slots are mostly taken by private dentistry because when they cock up, and they do that a lot, they can send the patients to NHS to fix the problem they created so the patient does not sue. Wow, that's great. Going back to GMT means another hour in bed, though. Yeah, for one Sunday at the end of the month. And they walked to school in the dark. The Tories put a stop to new youth centre being built near me in 2010, left it half built for years and then demolished it. A new one is being built now, says Graham Price. Yeah, it sounds like some of the Tories would do. They shut down all the Short Start centres, they shut down all the youth centres, they shut down a load of libraries, they shut down everything that sort of helped common people, and instead they just had fun basically making shitloads of money out of this country, fucking it for every penny, and riding off into the sunset. No harm done to them, to their careers. The fact that Nigel Farage is an elected representative in this country still, the fact that we haven't chased him up a tree and set fires to the tree, yeah, I have no idea why that hasn't happened. Where are the angry fucking pitchfork and torches mob? Where are they? Where are these people? I'm sure they used to exist. I'm sure we had the peasants' revolt at some point, but since then it's all been, hit me hat, took me forelock, like you are, sir. Let me grovel on the ground and kiss the ground beneath your feet like some, it's just pathetic. It's just pathetic. The Tories put a stop to a new youth centre. Oh, I've read that one. Luckily, we have a decent, reasonably priced private dentist near me. I think they're quitting about 5-year waiting list to get on the NHS. Quoting about a 5-year waiting list to get on the NHS. 5 years. 5 years. I mean, it is. This is fascinating, really, isn't it? Because it is the most extreme form of extortion you could possibly imagine. What do you want? Do you want to live in pain, or do you want to get your tooth out, or do you want to get that root canal surgery, or do you want to get it sorted? Do you know what I mean? I'll get it sorted. What's it going to cost you? How much are you willing to pay to not be in excruciating pain? That is extortion. That's fucking blackmail. If you tortured someone, if you caused physical harm to another human being in return for you to alleviate that pain, right? By, you know, if they pay you 500 quid, that would be against the law. That would be very against the law. In fact, you'd probably definitely go to jail for doing that. You know, torturing another human being. Here we are. Graham burning trees. Come on, lol. What? Why am I burning trees? I'm not burning trees. Freckle Puny. When I went to school, I did so in the dark, in 6 foot snow, and with £100 of coal on me back instead of books. There you go, Freckle Puny there. From Yorkshire, clearly. Luckily, we have a decent, reasonably priced. I've read that one. There you go. Dentist waiting list equalish to the waiting list for trans first appointment. 30 to 200 year wait apparently to see gender clinic, says L. Yeah. Jimmy Anderson, bowling genius, says sadly people don't realise that gum health is in fact linked to heart health. Well, yeah, and general health. I mean, if you're in pain, you can't do anything. You can't work. You can't do anything because you're too concentrating on the pain. Your body is telling you, sending messages to your brain saying, stop doing everything else and fix this problem or you will die from it. That's why pain exists. Yeah. Really not great. Really not great, the state of dentistry in this country. And we need to turn it around and say it is extortion. It is blackmail. That's what it is, to say, no, it's sad that you've got a sore tooth there. So I wouldn't like anything to happen to it, you know, and then make people wait. I've been very, very lucky, touch wood, so far in my life. I've had, you know, fillings. I've had broken teeth, bits of my teeth falling out and stuff. But I've never had that pain that you get, you know, when something's gone wrong and you've had to live with it for weeks, sometimes months before you can actually get it sorted. This issue needs to be tackled urgently, absolutely urgently, and the postcode lottery of NHS dental support needs to be absolutely sorted out. It's really, really grim. I didn't have the choice to pay. I was faced with agony or going to A&E. That's it, says Graham. Yeah. So what's the difference between someone who's torturing someone and says, I'll stop torturing you if you give me money, and someone who's in a lot of pain, and the only person who can alleviate that, instead of it being an NHS appointment, which would cost like, you know, maybe 80 quid or something, it costs 800 quid because it's private. Exactly the same, you know, tools, the same. Do they have, these dentists, do they have a different chair? Do they have the NHS chair and they have the private chair? Do they have the NHS instruments and drills and stuff and the private one? Do they have the NHS anaesthetics? And do they have the private anesthetic? No, they don't. They have a separate set. Not that I know of. And someone who might be a dentist might be able to put me right here, but it's the same stuff, same procedure, except one of them is going to make the dentist 80 quid and the other one's going to make 800 quid doing the same fucking thing. If that's not price gouging, I don't know what is. And when you've got someone over a barrel because they're in a lot of pain, they will pay you. They will absolutely pay. Vets do this as well. Vets pay. We need to have, okay, I've spoken about dog licenses before. We now have dog license and mandatory insurance for dogs, cats, maybe not goldfish, but dogs and cats, definitely. We should have mandatory insurance. If you cannot have an animal unless you have the ability to make sure that animal is not living in pain. You have people who own a cat, own a dog that's fucked for whatever reason, and instead of going to the vet because they can't afford the vet, the animal lives in fucking pain. And that's just not good enough. Sorry, if you want an animal, that's fine, but you got to be able to afford it. And that includes having a license and having insurance, especially with a dog. One Angry Pagan, I can't even do that. I have to rely on emergency dentist, 7 teeth out purely by emergency dentist. Oh, Jesus Christ, One Angry Pagan, that's a lot of teeth. That's a lot of teeth to lose, my friend. I'm very sorry about that. Almost everyone has a dentist horror story. We need to fix this, says Person Impersonator. You're absolutely right. I was worried I was going to get sepsis from having infected teeth, says Graham Price, which can happen and kill people. People used to die of their teeth quite a lot. And, you're in excruciating agony, says Graham Price. We can help you if you pay 60 quid. I don't have 60 quid. You can't help them. Bye. Slams phone down. Yeah. Yeah. During the COVID pandemic, I swilled my mouth with brandy and to numb the pain as my dentist was effectively running at half capacity. Yeah, COVID fucking knackered it as well. I got a phone call from my dentist. Right. So, you know, I've been a year since I've been more than a year since I've seen my dentist. So I got in touch with them and said, can I come and have an appointment? And they went, oh, sorry, we're taking you off the books. And I'm like, what? Why would you take me off the books? And like, oh, because you haven't been in touch for 18 months. And I went, there's been a pandemic. I literally got seen by my dentist like the February before the pandemic started in 2020. And then, you know, months later, when finally it was probably safe to go back to the dentist again, a place where you can't really wear a mask, unless you're the dentist, obviously. They're like, oh no, sorry, we're taking off the list. Couldn't believe it. Anyway, I got back on the list. So there was a happy end to that story. But the fact that they took me off it, because they were like, oh, sorry, we had to make spaces. We had to make spaces available. And I'm like, we had a pandemic. There was a pandemic. There was literally, we couldn't go anywhere for a year. What are you talking about? One Angry Pagan, thank you very much for the £2 super chat for emergency dentists. I much appreciate them. Yeah, I mean, emergency dentists, fantastic, but it should all be part of the NHS. It should just be part of the you need an emergency dentist. I don't see any difference between that and needing an emergency fix your fucking arm because you've just fallen off a ladder. What's the difference? There's something that is broken, causing you pain, right? Needs sorting out by a professional. Why is it when it's your arm, and if it's not cared after, you could get sepsis and fucking die? When it's your tooth, if it's not looked after, you could get sepsis and die. What's the difference? One's a bone in your mouth and the other one's a bone in your arm. But depending on where the bone is, fucking shit. We have PDSA for that, Graham, but I see your point. Yeah, the PDSA is a fantastic charity, but it is a charity. It's not like a government-run thing. And one thing they do that I really, really love is they give you a receipt after your pet has been looked after. They give you a receipt for how much it would have cost if you'd gone private. The NHS need to start doing that. You get out of hospital. You've had an MRI scan, have you? Here you go. Here's how much that would have cost you in an American healthcare system. Fucking hell. After looking at that number, that person who had that fucking MRI will never complain about the NHS ever again. Do you know how many votes that would lose for Nigel Farage if you did that? Hashtag just saying. Okay, my friends, I'm going to call it a day. Well, not a day, actually, because I'm going to be back at 6 o'clock tonight. I've got to write a bloody Bond quiz. Anyone got any good Bond questions for me to ask Rachel later? Please join us at 6 o'clock tonight. Me and Rachel are going to be doing the Big Bad Bond quiz. Big Bad Bond quiz. And same rules as last week. If you joined us for that, you will get a chance in the chat to answer the questions. And if you win, the glory and accolades of all of ancient Rome are with you, my friend, with you. So yes, Big Bad Bond quiz tonight. Me and Rach, 6 o'clock. If you can't make that, I will see you tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning for Morning Brew. So thank you for the super chats. Thank you for the chats. Thank you for, being nice. I thought the Can Be Bad Knocks questions were all right today, to be honest with you. I mean, she did better than usual. Well, that's not saying much. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching, and give us a like on the way out so I can continue to make these forever. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. All right, even if you're lurking, even if you don't want to join the chat, just subscribe. Every little helps. Until 6 o'clock tonight, I'll say thank you very much for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.